everybody's body is going to come up with very creative ways to get us to stop doing the risky thing. And that procrastination, the overcomplication, being overly busy, those things are really, really common because all of those fires that we have to put out, all of those things that come at us, they feel very, very important.
Hello, Mikal. It's nice to see you again. I know it's early morning in New Zealand right now, so I appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining me, and I'm so excited to get to know more about you and learn from you as well. Just last month we were talking. I was on your podcast. You're interviewing me, and now I'm the one interviewing you. So luckily, you were pretty nice to me during our interview when you're interviewing me. So I'm going to be nice to you as well. I'm just kidding. But welcome to Lazy Entrepreneur Podcast.
Thank you so much, Christy. Yeah, I know it's always a little challenging to be on the other side of the microphone, isn't it? So we'll see how I do as a guest because I am usually the host. So yeah, please go easy.
I'm always nice. And I feel like you and I, we have developed that sort of like connection already. Like we can just talk and talk about anything under the sun.
Sounds good. Let's go.
All right. Well, Mikal, I want our guests to know more about you. So can you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Mikal McCracken and I'm the owner of Space and Grace Coaching and the host of the Space and Grace podcast that I interviewed Christy on recently. And I help women business owners with a few different things, but I have clients on kind of two ends of the spectrum. I've got clients who are making a lot of money, but they're really having to push and hustle for that money. They're really bleeding for it, and they really want to be able to maintain the income without pushing so hard. And then I have clients in a different area where they're doing all the things, they're taking all the action, but they're not getting that result that technically they should have gotten by now. And so we go into the subconscious mind and we rewire all of those rules and programs and conditions and outdated beliefs that we all have, but that are actively preventing them from reaching their goals or actively preventing them from building a business with more ease. So many people go into business because they want that freedom, but then they very quickly create this business monster that holds them hostage. And so it's about kind of figuring out, like, why am I doing that? Do I need to continue doing that? What's in the way? And sometimes it's in the subconscious mind, and sometimes it's just long held in your body. And so I do a lot of nervous system work, belief rewiring and things like that.
Wow, I love that. Well, before we really dig deeper into how you help business owners, I'm kind of curious to find out why you name your business Space and Grace.
It's a constant daily reminder of what I'm aiming for. So, and I think we might have talked a little bit about this when I interviewed you as well. I built a really successful business in the pet care industry, and that should have been really fun for me, but it wasn't. So it was successful on the outside. Anybody looking in would have gone, wow, that's amazing. She's got a fully trained team. She's got amazing clients. She's making all the money in an industry that clearly she's really passionate about. So, tick, 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 tick. But internally, I didn't know this at the time, but I was completely, like, my nervous system was shot. I did have 2 babies during that time, so there wasn't a lot of sleep. And because I didn't know any better, because I didn't know that my thoughts were just thoughts, they weren't real, because I didn't know I could change them, I didn't know that there was a different perspective. I was running that business, like I just felt like I was kind of running the whole time and not celebrating. I was shifting the goalposts. I'd be like, oh, I've almost made this much money. Okay, then I better make this much money next time. And so I never celebrated or slowed down. Horrible self-talk. I was internally a disaster zone, even though externally everything was looking good. So I ended up selling that business and making even more money. And so then I was freaked out because I had all this money that technically I hadn't earned, right? Because even though I had earned it, getting it all in a lump sum, that really threw me into a spin. So basically, I've learned a lot since then. I've learned about the coaching industry. I'm now certified as a coach because I just think it's so important. And I just think having a coach or a mentor or somebody that you can talk to is just so, so important when you're building something new. And Space and Grace is just a constant reminder of who I want to be as I'm building this business. We so easily fall into old patterns, old beliefs, old way of doing things. And Space and Grace is all about me leading myself and then getting to lead other people towards that freedom-based business, instead of like what I did with my previous business, where I was like, I thought that making the money was going to lead to the freedom, but that's not how it works. Like, making money is amazing and so good, but if you're still running these old programs like you're not enough, it's not enough, you need to be more, do more, then you're never actually going to make enough money, and you're never going to, you're not going to feel safe.
Yeah.
So there's so much that goes into building a business, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah,
I like the name, Space and Grace, because like you said, it's pretty much a daily reminder, for yourself, like, hey, why we're doing this, because we need more space in our life, and when something breaks down or something doesn't go as planned, you need to give yourself grace, and maybe other people as well. So I love that. Okay, so you mentioned earlier that you help mainly two types of, business people, right? Like on the other end of the spectrum. So the first type, or the first group of people is, business owners who are, hustling hard, and they're making a lot of money, but they're tired and they don't know when to stop. Like, tell me about, the characteristics of those type of, entrepreneurs, and what do they really want to achieve in life?
Yeah. Well, that's what we dig into, right? We're like, what are we actually playing for? Why are we working so hard? And what is it we actually want? And usually it comes back to something really basic. Like, we want to be valuable. We want to be of value. We want to know that we've earned our way, that we deserve to be here. That's often what's at the bottom of it all. Like, which is usually a survival thing. We have all this technology, but we are very much still cave people. And if we go back to our ancestors, if we weren't of value to our tribe, we would get kicked out and we would die alone. And we're still running those programs. I found one last week very similar to that, and I didn't even know that I was running that program in my brain. So, so the characteristics are, it's a lot of stories like, I have to work hard. Money can't come without hard work. I'm not of value if I'm not constantly struggling. There's all these stories that we've picked up either in our childhood or further back. A lot of the work that I do, especially on myself, when I'm taking myself through the process I take my clients through, these are like ancestral ties and beliefs. I'm often going back. I know it sounds completely nuts, but I'm often going back. It makes sense. Good. Okay. It makes sense to me, but you have to find the right audience for this sort of conversation. But there's just so many examples in my ancestral line where money did only come from hard work. So I want to change that. I want to change it for me, and I want to change it for everybody that comes after me. But it means there's a lot of work involved. And when I say a lot of work, I don't mean a lot of hard work. I just mean you really have to look at those shadows and those kind of scary places in your subconscious mind that most people don't want to go to.
Wow. That's interesting. So these are people who wants to perform because they want to be seen as valuable, that if they don't do anything, if they're not as productive as they think they are, then they think they're not as valuable.
Yeah. And like, you know, there's a lot of thoughts like, if it comes to me easily, did I deserve it, or can I really have it? You know, like I've got clients who, I'll use one client as an example at the moment. She has a very, very successful business, and there's a piece of her business that does bring in a lot of money, but she doesn't want to do it anymore. And she's come up with a plan on how she can replace that income doing something that she really, really wants to do. But where she keeps getting stuck is she keeps not taking those actions towards that new income stream. She keeps running these, you know, these thoughts. One of her predominant thoughts is, I'm too old, which is completely nuts because she's not at all. But these are the ways that our body and our subconscious mind are just going to stop us from going towards the thing we want. Because the thing is, she already knows how to make money from that part of her business that's working. She's already proven to her body that she can do that without dying. So that feels safe, even though she's kind of over it. Whereas she's trying to do something new, and that's completely not safe. It's untested, and her body doesn't trust that she's allowed to have it. So her body is like throwing everything at her to go, don't do that. And that's why, you know, the work that I am doing with her is just, I just think it's so important, because we will just sabotage over and over and over again so that we stay in our little safety bubble, even if our little safety bubble is really uncomfortable and we don't want it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's an interesting story. So I think for a lot of us, you know, like when we hustle, right? Like we don't think about anything else but, you know, grow the business, hustle, make more money. But in return, we are neglecting our physical body and even our mental health, right? And those are actually important, because once we cannot function normally, you know, either you have something with your mental health or your physical health, you know, it's hard to run a business. So like for those people who are hustlers, and I don't think there's anything bad, you know, with that, you know, like if you are a hustler and you're very passionate about that, and you get meaning out of life from being a hustler, like do it, you know, but at the same time don't neglect some areas of your life. So what would you say to those type of people who are hustlers, you know, they want to achieve more, want to do more, nothing is enough, like, you know, like if nothing is enough for them, you know, like how can they take care of their self?
Yeah. And look, I am not against hard work. I am an action taker, and I do work very, very hard. And I soften it now, whereas I used to just work really, really hard because I was coming from this place of scarcity and fear, so much fear and worry. I was like, oh my God, like if I don't make enough money, I'm not going to be able to pay my staff. If I can't pay my staff, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. If I can't pay my rent, you know, on the building, on the facility that I had, you know, what is that going to mean? You know, like, and you can just spiral into this disaster. Like, am I going to end up living in a tent with my baby? You know, like you can just get out of control. So I don't think there's anything wrong with hustle and working hard, but I do think that we need to look at what's driving it and for how long. And like, I remember getting to work one day and I dropped the kids off to school and daycare, which is always a bit of a, you know, nightmare. You know, everybody's only got one shoe or a half, you know, a t-shirt on, but no pants, whatever, you know, like it's a big deal getting two young kids out the door. And I got to work and I was sitting in my car because I just kind of raced, you know, all morning. I'd just been racing, and I got to work and I was like, I'm going to have a heart attack and die. And for what? For what? Like for this business? Like, no. that's not, you know, when you really whittle it down, I was like, I just want to cuddle my kids right now. I could give a shit about making money right now. I just want to cuddle my kids. So I think at the end of the day, it's really important to figure out what you're playing for and really get really clear on what those goals are and how you're going to celebrate when you reach those goals before you move the goalposts, because we're always going to be moving the goalposts. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we're constantly evolving. We evolve, our business evolves, and that's so important. But just remember to go, okay, I've reached this goal. Now I get to go out and have a lovely meal, or I go and get to have a spa, or I get to spend a certain amount of money just to celebrate. And then I get to look at what comes next.
I love that. So let's talk about this other group of people who are hustlers. They work hard and hard and hard, like more than 12 hours a day, but they don't achieve anything. You know, they don't earn their income goal. You know, it's always like, okay, I work hard, but I lack a lot of things. You know, so what about those people? Like, you know, like, why do you think that kind of thing happens to them?
I mean, honestly, it's their belief and it's their nervous system. I would guarantee it. So here's the thing. Usually it's not the strategy that's wrong. Most strategies can work. You know, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've spent a lot of money buying other people's strategies and really doing the work. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you realize, okay, it sounded like a good strategy on the sales page, but it's not quite going to fit into my life or whatever. So sometimes you do need to find a better strategy, but usually it's about who you are being as you are implementing that strategy. And if you've got this strategy, so you've got it all mapped out, but you've got all of these things in your head, like, it's never going to work for me because nothing else worked. You know, if you don't actually believe that you can make money, if making money puts you at risk in some way, if being successful means that you're more successful than somebody you really look up to, then that's risky. And so we have to just kind of look at all these things like, what is preventing your success? What is happening whenever you go to take that action that's going to lead to that success? Is it that, like, I'll give you an example from my life to hopefully lock it in. I created a 3-part video series on pretty much this, like, what's getting in the way? Like, why am I working so hard, but I'm still not getting the effort? So I created a video series on that. Really proud of it. I think it's amazing. And I wrote it, I recorded it, I edited it, I loaded it into Go High Level, which is always, you know, takes so much longer than you expect it's going to, right? But I did it all. And then I wrote all the emails telling people about it and did all the social posts. And then I went to hit send on the email. And I felt my body just kind of spiral down. I was like, you know, imagine if you just kind of turn the power off and it just kind of flops down. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is really curious, because normally what I do when I'm trying to do something risky, normally my body makes me really distracted. It gives me lots of busy work. It makes me feel like I can't do the thing because I'm just so distracted and busy doing something else. But I don't fall for that anymore because I'm onto it and I know that that's about to come. So my body had to get way more creative. My nervous system had to get way more creative. And it shut me down. And I was like, oh, wow, look at you. You are so clever, because if I tell people about this, I'm risking my life. I'm risking judgment, you know? And so I really had to sit with it for a while, sit with my collapsing body and just go, okay, we've done all this work. We created this with the best of intentions. We really want to help people with it. What's it going to take to get you on board so that I can click publish? And I just had to have a lot of compassion, because it was just so obvious. It was like my body was screaming at me to stop because I was about to risk my life. So I don't know if I answered your question.
I think it did. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it did. Well, you mentioned regulating your body or your nervous system a few times. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, well, there's so many ways to do it, and it's all going to be very personalized to you. But for me, so I'll just talk about the different nervous system states just in a real high level. You've kind of got these three different states. So the first one is ventral vagal, and that's when you can work really hard, you can get a lot of stuff done, but you feel really good. Like it feels like everything's possible. Like, I guess like you're in flow, and yeah, the actions that you're taking, the activities that you're doing, like it all just feels like it's going to lead to a great result. That's where we want to be. Where most of us are is the next level down, which is sympathetic. So that's where we're really experiencing fight or flight or freeze. And, you know, it's where we're kind of like, when I was running my first business, now that I know about this, I realized that I spent most of my time in fight. So I wasn't about to run away from the business, but I was constantly ready for stuff to go wrong. You know, I was constantly on the lookout. I was vigilant. And that's exhausting. That's such an exhausting place to be. And so if you don't pay attention when you're in those sorts of zones where, you know, you're either running away from your business, shutting down, not as in like shutting down your laptop and just not doing the things, or you feel like there's just something danger lurking around every corner. If you don't pay attention to that, like I lived like that for years. But if eventually you're going to collapse, which is the next level down, which we call dorsal vagal. So that's where you just can't care anymore. You're like, what's the point? What is the point in me publishing this post? What's the point in me sending this email? No one's paying attention. No one cares. It doesn't matter. And so what we need to do, we need to do different things to move ourselves in and out of those states to be happy and content as we're building our business. So I'll just give you one of my favorites but again, everything's different. So it might be music. Music might lift you up, or it might kind of drop you down. Like if you're feeling really, really anxious, you know, some people like to go for a run. But for me, if I'm feeling really anxious, I need to do yoga, because if I go for a run, I'm just kind of getting even more stressed out, because running's not my favorite thing to do. So you have to kind of figure out what's going to work for you. My favorite one for calming down, like if I'm feeling really, really anxious or triggered or afraid. So I imagine that, like, have your nose pointing straight ahead, keep your nose pointing straight ahead, and then look to the left as if you're trying to see your left ear. And what you're going to do, I've only done this with one other person who it didn't work on. Everybody else gets a nice big release, but generally you're going to get a really big inhale and exhale, or you might get a bit of a shudder, or you might get a bit of a yawn, and you're going to feel so good. And then you do it to the other side. And so that's just so simple, and you can do it pretty much anywhere, anytime.
Wait, do you hold it like when you look at your, like, let's say left ear, do you hold it for like 3 or 5 seconds? Like for how long do you
until
hold
you
it?
get that release? So, and I get quicker and quicker. So the first time I did it, I was kind of like, what is happening? Is this working? What's going on? Now I kind of do it and I'm like, and I just feel like my whole chest area just kind of loosens up, because I hold all my tension in my heart space. Like when I'm feeling really tense, it kind of feels like somebody's like squeezing my heart space. And so when I do that, just that little movement, and, you know, I can get it done within 30 seconds, and I instantly just feel calmer and like everything's more possible. So that's my favorite. But there's also emotional freedom techniques. So tapping, Yeah, I mean, I would say if anybody's listening to this and they're not sure what I'm talking about, just go into YouTube and do a search and
Mm-hmm.
just have a play around with the different techniques, because we're all very similar, but we all have different things that work
Coping
best.
mechanisms. Yeah.
Mm.
Like for instance, for me, like whenever I'm kind of like in a depressed mode, like I would listen to punk rock emo music.
Hmm.
I would
And get a
listen,
good cry.
yeah, like and like
Hmm.
sing along because the lyrics are very emotional, and they're like and they have like a high pitch when they sing, those emo punk rock bands. So I listen to them, then I sing along, and I'm like, oh, I feel good after this, like yeah, sometimes
Perfect.
yeah. So even if you're not singing along to your own words or emotions, and it's the band's lyrics, but because I don't know, there's something in it that makes me feel good about listening to it when I'm like sad or something.
Yeah, but then that's your thing, right? That's your go-to, and just allow yourself to do that. So if it makes you feel instantly better, that's awesome. If it makes you cry and wallow and then you feel better, that's awesome as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes when you're sad and when you listen to like sad music, you get sadder, but at the same time you're like able to release your emotions, you're able to cry, and then after that, okay, I don't need to listen to that sad music now. I can go on with my life. So yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, I have a very interesting question for you. So we talk about these different groups of people, right? Like the hustlers who are earning a lot of money and the hustlers who are not earning money. So do you feel like, of course, in life, there are some things that we can control, right? Like if we want to make this certain amount of money, we just need to work hard, maybe get 2 or 3 jobs or whatever, open up another business. But for some people, they really work hard, but nothing happens. Do you do you feel like, and you can be honest about this, if you have an opinion or not, but do you feel like our destiny in life has something to do with it?
Ooh, I don't know
Or
if
do you
I'm best
even
placed.
believe in destiny? Like, because some people, they work hard. Yes, like, they're disciplined, but they stay poor. They don't become rich, like some people, they were poor and then they work hard, they became rich. Like it's the same level of effort that both individuals, did, but different results.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if I could speak to destiny, but what I will say is that your brain creates what it believes.
Mm.
And so, you know, what I thought of when you were saying that is there are people who work very hard jobs, like physically hard jobs, like cleaning or doing roadworks or working in a mine, like really, really hard physical jobs, but they don't earn a lot of money. So there's not really a correlation between like if you work hard you will make money. Like it's not a rule, right? I mean, we think it's a rule, but actually it's not, because then there are other people who can just seem to like think about making money and it just comes to them, right? So there doesn't have to be that connection, but I would say that whatever your brain believes, it creates. So if you are one of these people who is working really, really hard for a long time, like, when you're starting a business, of course, it's going to be harder at the start. You've kind of got to get the ship going, right? And you've got to learn stuff, you've got to learn systems, you've got to learn strategies. Like there's a lot going into it. So, but if you're like 5 or 6 years in and you're still working really hard, but still not making the money, then I think it's time to look at the beliefs and the nervous system, how the nervous system triggers, how those are connected. Because it could be that you are almost there, but you're actually not taking that one action that would make the biggest difference. And the reason you're not taking it is because it terrifies you. And you can't, and your body will just come up, like just like when I went to hit send on that series, on that video series. It was like my body, or everybody's body, is going to come up with very creative ways to get us to stop doing the risky thing. And that procrastination, the overcomplication, being overly busy, those things are really, really common, because all of those fires that we have to put out, all of those things that come at us, they feel very, very important in the moment. But I would encourage everybody who's listening to this, like, when there's a lot of stuff going on and it all feels equally important, is it actually just distracting you from hitting publish on that post?
I love that. Wow. So as we wrap up, is there anything else you want to share that I have not asked you?
No, I mean, I think you've just let me run wild. I hope it all makes sense to people.
It did. Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, my previous guest left a question for you, and I think this is a very interesting question. So as entrepreneurs or parents, right, like sometimes it's just so hard to let go, because sometimes we think we're the only ones who can do things better, but there's a point in our entrepreneurship where we're like, need to delegate, because obviously we cannot do everything all at the same time, right? So in your case, when do you know when it's time to delegate?
Yeah, well, so at the moment, I have hired somebody to help me get my podcast onto YouTube, because I thought, that's a whole other strategy. It's not like you can just chuck a video up there and expect it to go to the right place. And I go to the right people, go to the right audience. And I was like, yes, I could learn how to do this myself, but do I really want to? And the answer was no. So I've got somebody helping me with that. We've only just started. I think we've only loaded about 3 or 4 up onto YouTube. So that was a really easy one for me to hand off, because I've already controlled as much as I can control. I've already created the episode, right? I've already written all the assets. All he needs to do is figure out the actual getting it onto YouTube strategy. So that was really easy. But one of the things I've failed at quite miserably is I've run through 2 summits now, 2 big summits. The first one, I wanted to know how everything worked. So I did it all myself, every single thing, including learning, I can't even remember, I was learning Zenler at the time to host it. So it was learning a brand new platform, learning how to, all the things, right? And finding guests, all that stuff, finding people to interview. The second time I decided to do it, I was like, right, this time I'm going to do it on my own, but I'm going to take really good notes and lots of screenshots and make lots of Loom videos so I can hand it off next time. But then I got to the end of it. I'm like, I never want to do another one of those again. Like, it was such hard work. So I think if I had handed it off that second time, I think I would probably still be doing summits, because I love interviewing people. I love that. I love doing it for summits. I love doing it for my podcast. But honestly, I don't know if I've got another summit in me, because it just took, I bled for that summit.
I love summits, actually.
You do?
Yeah, especially when the speakers lined up are like awesome, and they have the expertise that I need to learn from. So let me know when you have your next summit.
I will be reaching out, because I will definitely need support. If I ever get to the point where I can drum up enough energy to even consider putting together another summit, I will reach out and see if you've got anybody on your team who can do it for me.
Yeah. Okay. And then you mentioned earlier that, when you were like thinking of, delegating your YouTube tasks, and you're like, do I have to do it? No. So you ask yourself that question, like, do I have to do it? No. So why your answer was like no? Like, was it because you didn't have the time to do it, or it wasn't your, your expertise, or because that if you delegate it, you can do more things than, YouTube?
All of those
Okay.
things. Yeah. I mean, I just thought, because I can work hard, because I can take a lot of action. I was like, I know I'm capable of this. I'm not outsourcing it because I can't do it, because I won't be able to do it. It wasn't that sort of energy, like, oh my God, I'm so lost, I'm going to have to hand it off to somebody who knows more. It was more like, is this really the best use of my time and energy? And
That's a good question to ask. Yeah.
It just wasn't, and I just really think the more that I learn, the more strategies that I've kind of added to my toolkit, I guess, over the years, the more I realize that putting the podcast onto YouTube is a whole other business, really. Like I mean, I don't know, because I haven't learned. I've outsourced it, so I don't know. But it seems to me like it's an entirely new platform with different rules and different algorithms and different strategies. And I was like, oh my God, just get someone else to do it.
Yeah, and you know what your time is worth as well. So yeah, cool. Well, what question do you want to leave my next guest?
Okay, so I would like them to answer, what goal have they got that feels really stretchy, that feels almost impossible? And I'd love for them to talk to that.
I love that. I'm actually reading a book right now about the impossible goal.
Ooh.
So I forget what the title of the book, but because I'm part of a mastermind and we're doing kind of like a book club. So it's all about setting an impossible goal. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, let me know. Send me an email when you get the title. I would love to read that. I haven't heard of that. But goal setting is it's such a tricky beast, and so I'm really interested. I would totally read that book, because if you set an impossible goal, is it just delusion or is it inspiring? And I think people would have a different take, like some people need to set just really small goals so that they can actually get that achievement and clock up that achievement. Whereas some people need a really big stretchy goal to just keep pulling them forward. So yeah, let me know the title of that book.
Yeah, I was trying to Google it, but couldn't find it. Oh, here, The Science of Scaling.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, The Science of Scaling by Benjamin Hardy. So I read the first chapter of it, and it was quite nice. So, but yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I love our conversation. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, so Space and Grace podcast, if they look up that. And I have that 3-part video series that I mentioned that I almost didn't publish, that I almost didn't tell people about. If people are interested in that, it's called Why You're Doing All the Right Things But Still Not Getting Rich. And they can get it at spaceandgrace.me/resources. So that's how people can reach out to me and jump into my world.
I love it. I might even, check that out myself.
Awesome.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.